Welcome to Trigger Talk, your place for everything first-person shooters like Call of Duty, Battlefield, and so much more. I'm your host, Sage Goodwin, and as always, I'm joined by Sammy Boy. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Ready to talk some more Battlefield 2042 Season 7 today. We're going to go deeper into our thoughts in gameplay, what we like, what we don't like, all that fun stuff. So let's jump in. So I got to play a little bit more on the new map, Haven. Really enjoying it. Like, there's some struggles. There's still the criticisms that I had last time are still there, but it's just fun when you've got a new Battlefield map for sure.
Yeah, I finally got around to playing it. I made it my goal this week, since I said that last week on the pod that I would play it.
Public accountability.
Yeah, and it's been funny. I thought I would jump on, and I had kind of put this session down as like, okay, I just need to go and do it. I just need to go and play it, just see what it's like, and then that's the job done. And I didn't think I was going to really like it. Not that I thought the map would suck. The last time I played Battlefield, I just wasn't having that much fun. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I chalked this up as like, this will just be literally just me getting on to play the map, and then I probably won't play it.
Job time.
Yeah. And it turns out I had a blast, and now I'm actually kind of addicted to Battlefield again. I'll probably play. That was only, what day is it? Friday. It was only Monday, I think, that I played for the first time, and since then I've had 3 sessions, and there's a good chance I play again today. So it's almost every day that I've been playing. And yesterday, for not just playing for fun, but like for content, I probably played like 3 hours. So yeah, it took me by surprise. I didn't think I'd be having fun, but the map is good fun, like you. And I think, critiques are probably the same, to be honest. But like you, I do have a few issues with it. But overall, I'd say it's an overall positive, this map. I'm definitely just having fun with it, which is, I think the break was nice. I think I needed to get a little time away from Battlefield.
Refresh.
It wasn't like I was disliking it. It was just, I just wasn't like, I wasn't loving it. Whereas in the past, I have had a lot of fun. You know, despite all this game's issues, I've had a heap of fun with it. But it definitely got to the point that I was like, nah, I'm not enjoying this at all. But yeah, that's kind of changed now.
It's like an unhealthy relationship, a little bit more healthy than unhealthy, but like still there's some toxicity there in terms of like, oh man, when I'm away, I can really like see all the problems, but when I'm in the zone, like I'm there and I don't see anything until like I get too frustrated, and then like I leave again. That's a lot of like Battlefield 2042's experience. Like when it's great, it's great. Like there's some really fun stuff there. You get into the groove of things, and then eventually there's just that point in the middle of the season where it's just like, okay, what else is there to do? Yeah. But like around this time when there is new content, it's great. It's super fun, especially these new maps.
Yeah, I think that is really my only issue with the game now. I mean, look, I've got other like issues, but I think I've come to terms with them in terms of like stuff like the class system and stuff. Obviously, they've fixed it, but it's still not perfect, and
it's still lacking.
Yeah, there's still little issues like that just around the fundamentals of the game, but they're not really complaints for me anymore, because that is what
that's just the game now.
Yeah, like I know this game to be that, so it'd be. I think at this point, it would be kind of my fault to be annoyed still about those things. Now, that doesn't mean I don't want them changed in the next one, because I definitely do. But yeah, I think I'm at the point where I've accepted what the game is. And the only issue I had in terms of not enjoying it wasn't because like, oh, the game sucks. It was just the lack of content. And like a 5-month season with really nothing in there. That was what kind of made me, like at the start of season 6, I really liked Redacted, but I was just like, I can't play this map for nearly 6 months. You know, like it's a small. Even now, I played it yesterday, and I was like, okay, that I don't really like that now, because I've played it so many times at the start, and because it's smaller, it's a bit. I think you get sick of those maps a bit quicker.
Well, that's why, like in previous Battlefield games, and when you look at like Call of Duty and other shooters, excluding stuff like the battle royales, because those are just massive and completely different in terms of FPS. But when you look at these other shooters, they typically have multiple small maps that launch at a time rather than just one small map that is supposed to satiate you for the season.
Yeah, I think that's the main downfall for this game, is just the lack of content in general is not good. But if they had like not that many weapons and stuff, but we were still getting a map per 3 maps per season or something, I think I would not even care about like a lack of weapons. It's, for me, it's just maps. I just need new maps. That's always been how every shooter is. I don't know if everyone thinks that way, but I feel like surely most people would agree that maps are the biggest drawing factor to a game like this.
Yeah.
Whether it's this or Call of Duty or whatever, it doesn't really matter. I feel like, yeah, weapons are good, and like, say when this game had specialists, as in like getting added, the specialists were fine that they added and stuff. It's not like we don't want that content, but the key thing we want is the maps, and yeah, that's just kind of been the main issue, and it's why I still kind of have an issue with the whole stadium thing, because like, yeah, they're bringing it back, but it's like, it's not new. It's not new content. We want a new map. So yeah, that's kind of been my issue with it. But that being said, Haven has been a lot of fun so far. I'm having a blast with it. So
what's been your experience with it so far? So you've had 3 to 5 sessions that you've been able to play with. You're hooked on it. But what's your overall thoughts on the map itself?
It seems very, I don't know what, like almost random chaos is how I would kind of describe it. It doesn't feel like
there's no strategy.
Yeah, like a lot of other maps, there's chaos, but it's like, you know that's going to happen in those areas, or a certain phase of breakthrough or rush or whatever. Like, that's always, Battlefield's always had chaos, but this, it just feels like there'll be one game, right, where I can just sit on a rooftop with a sniper and just dominate, and then the next game I'm getting dominated by snipers, so then I go onto the ground and everyone down there is dominating me and stuff, and it's like, it just feels a bit more random, which isn't even, it's not a complaint, it's more just like, it's just different. I feel like every other map kind of, once you've learnt the map, you just know how it's going to play, whereas this one, it does feel very different each time, and especially with the balancing, I feel I've had games where, like on each side, where I've lost like 1,000 to 0 on each side of the map, so it's not even like it's unbalanced in one team's favor. It's just like, I don't know what it is about it. I feel like if you gain control of the center of the map early, it's like pretty hard for the other team to win. So yeah, that's really my only issue so far, is like that side of it, more the balancing. But I don't think it's hard to explain. I don't think it's unbalanced in any specific way. It just feels, I don't know.
It's like balanced on a knife's edge. Yeah. Like one little like whisper and you're going to go on one side of the knife or the other side of the knife.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's a lot of the experience of it. I totally agree. I think there is this like unplanned chaos with this map, and it's not dependent on what sides. We've had past games where like, oh, Russia, because of their spawns, they're able to take the lead, or the US with theirs can take the lead, depending on where like it's kind of laid out. But this one is just like, no matter where you are, no matter what side you are on, it's just gonna be pretty crazy no matter what.
Yeah. And like that has a certain level of charm to it as well. Like, as much as sometimes it is a little bit annoying when you, like, for example, I might be playing really well and my team's just getting smashed and I'm like, what the hell? Like, I want to, like, why am I not being able to impact the game, sort of thing? But yeah, it's also just kind of fun that you just don't really know what's going to happen sometimes. And I don't know why that is. I don't know why on this map it's like that and in other maps it's not. But yeah, it's definitely a different feeling map. It does feel a little bit to me like a Battlefield 4 or like Hardline type of map for me. I get vibes of those two games from it. I don't know if that's just like the actual setting of it or what, but yeah, it feels, I don't want to say it's as good. I think there are other like maps they've added since season 1 that are better, but this feels the most Battlefieldy map to me, which is weird. Like, that should mean it's better than the others, really, but it's not necessarily. But it definitely feels more Battlefieldy than a lot of those other maps.
That was going to be my next question. Like, how do you think it ranks against the other the other maps in 2042, as well as just like general for the Battlefield franchise? How are you feeling on that front?
I would say compared to the 2042 maps, I still think Spearhead is my baby. I just don't think anything beats that. Exposure, I really liked.
That is Battlefield 2042 perfection.
Yeah. So I'd probably have it behind those two. It would be, I don't know if it would necessarily be third, but like in that next bracket. So it's not quite the best in the game, but it's like up there, I think. In terms of like compared to other Battlefields, it'd be like a 7 out of 10 at best. I don't know. It's kind of hard to gauge that, but I feel like if it was in a different Battlefield game, it may be better. Like if this exact map was in Battlefield 4, it might play better and stuff. I don't know. So it's hard to tell, but the enjoyment I get from it compared to like some of the best Battlefield 1 maps and Battlefield 4 maps and stuff, I'd probably say 7 being generous. I don't even know if I want to say 7, probably more like a 6.5, I would say.
Yeah, that lines up kind of with what I was thinking. In terms of like 2042, I'd say it's like a solid 8, 7.5. But generally, in terms of if you're going to rank it in terms of Battlefield as a whole, probably 6, 6.5. Like it's good, but it's not that good when you compare it to the older stuff.
Yeah, which that kind of just feels in line with the whole game, really. Like there's not even Spearhead. I really, really like Spearhead. I don't think that would be like a 10 out of 10 in any other Battlefield. It would probably be like, I don't know, an 8 out of 10 compared to the rest.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think the whole game.
I agree 100%. And I love that map. But if you compare it to the other stuff, like it's good. It's really good for Battlefield 2042. But it's still like just on the levels of like the average Battlefield map.
Yeah. It's kind of weird that I felt like when they were adding all of the seasonal maps, at the time I kept saying like these are getting better and each one's kind of better than the last. Yeah. And then that kind of leveled out. And now I feel like they're just all at the same level. And I was hoping to see a bit more improvement in, if they were all getting better, then this one could be a 9 out of 10 compared to another Battlefield map. But it feels like they kind of peaked and they haven't fully, they haven't just kept improving, which is maybe a high expectation to set just because it's hard. It doesn't matter how good the maps are, the game also does have to be really good. Like,
it's got to support.
Yeah. Like I said, if this exact map got put into a different Battlefield, we may be looking at it like, oh, damn, this is an awesome map. So it's hard to properly
because it would be very different from the rest of like, let's just say it was put in Battlefield 5. Like it would be very different feeling if it was put into that game. Yeah. And we might enjoy it more just because of like the different experiences that game offered versus what this map does.
Yeah. So it is definitely hard to gauge them, but it's definitely, in terms of this game, it's still up. Like I would have it definitely top 5 in the game and potentially top 3, but I don't quite think so because I think there's like, I'd probably nearly still put Orbital up in. I don't know now. It's hard to tell because a lot of the base maps I haven't played them in that long because I just played like the new ones when they come out and they have like the 24/7 playlist. So to be honest, I haven't played Orbital in like freaking 10 months probably, but I don't know. It definitely.
I just think if you're gonna rank them, all of the post-launch maps are gonna be in the top, however many of those maps there are, and then it goes into those like base maps stuff. Because even after the changes, like they still didn't reach the level of any of the new maps.
Yeah,
in my
agree
opinion.
with that. Yeah, I think Orbital is the only map in the game that feels on the same level as the like seasonal maps, and it's still you're right. It's probably still not as good as any of them. Maybe Flashpoint, but even that I don't. That's a fun map, so I don't know. I think Orbital's key areas are good. It's just that it's still very like big and spread out. There's a lot of just like no man's land in there, so yeah, it's hard to tell.
Yeah, it definitely is. In terms of like, what do you think about the actual layout of the map? Like, as you're working through it, like, what are your thoughts with how the flow of things are, especially with like the, especially with like the buildings and like the type of experiences that that this map offers versus the rest of the game?
It definitely feel like it's definitely the most urban feeling map, and obviously it is because it's like it's the rest of the maps are all kind of open. So that's something I'm really enjoying so far, is just that you are in and amongst like buildings. There's plenty of cover and stuff. That's kind of the main difference for me compared to the other maps, is that it's still, I agree with what you said last week, that the buildings do still feel a little bit spread out at times. Not all of them. There's some that are a lot closer to each other, but like it's not, I don't know, it's not as like tense and as close quarters as a lot of previous urban maps in the franchise. So I still think they could have done a little bit better there, but it's, yeah, that's my favorite type of gameplay for sure, is the real like just in and amongst it type of combat, where you're just it's like you finish one gunfight, you kill someone, and then you're immediately just like, god damn, I need to like reload and just like readjust immediately, because
let me back in.
Yeah, I just heard someone to my right as I was killing that guy. There's just another guy that I heard shooting at one of my teammates, so I need to like figure out where he is, and then like that type of gameplay I prefer a lot more than the more slower paced side of it, unless I'm like sniping. But even then, I generally snipe pretty like, I guess, aggressively.
Aggressive.
Yeah, like I don't just sit on a roof, or I will sit on a roof, but it's like on the freaking objective kind of thing. Like I don't sit at the back of the map, that's really my only other issue with this map. Is there's a lot of snipers, and like if you're sniping aggressively, I have no problem with that, because it's like if someone's running around the city and then they snipe me, I'm like, fair play, like that's a great kill. If someone's sitting at the back of the map sniping me, I'm just like, come on, man, surely you're not doing that. So that's my only concern or issue is there's that, I think it's on the American side deployment, I can't remember, but it's like the left side of the map when you're looking at it. There's one building that's just way back there, and has nothing. It's not like near an objective or anything, and there's so many snipers that just sit in that. And yeah, it's definitely annoying, because it just, even if they're not going to kill you, it just adds like perceived pressure that what if I want to sit on a roof in the actual city, so I'm not just sitting back doing nothing, I'm like guarding an objective or whatever, but you sort of can't, because there's always a sniper in that building, which to be fair is maybe a good like balancing act, because then if you could just sit on the top of the roofs, then maybe that would be overpowered. So I don't know, it's hard to tell, but that's really my only complaint, is just the snipers, which it's not, I think I said this last week, it's not even a full complaint, because there's other maps that are really good for other types of gameplay. So I do think the snipers kind of needed one, although to be fair, a lot of the maps are like open, but this is like a fun, like chaotic sniping, and so that it makes me okay with it. I'm not like angry that the snipers are running rampant, but it's still like, there's a lot of times where I'm like, oh man, I would love to experience this game with like no one just sniping my head off every 5 seconds.
Yeah. That's kind of like my experience with it as well. Like the experience with this map, the way that it's laid out, the way that it's like pieced together, and the way that it's kind of like separate from everything, it is very sniper friendly in a way that sometimes frustrates me and sometimes I really enjoy, which I think adds to like what we were talking about earlier, the level of just like chaos that is available with this map. But on the one hand, it's like sometimes you just want to like play the game. Maybe it's like we were saying, like maybe that's not the map for me, if that's kind of the experience that I want to. And I think there's benefit to having different maps that offer different experiences, but sometimes you want to experience a map but not also get destroyed every time that you play it.
Yeah, and it's also kind of a weird map to have snipers being really dominant, because it doesn't feel like it should be that type of map. It's meant to be like a urban close quarters map, so it is. I think that's part of it, that it feels on an open map, I'm expecting snipers to be dominant. So it's kind of
yeah, that's part of it.
Yeah, it's still a bit annoying, but it's like that's if I'm running an SMG on breakaway, it's like, well, that's probably my fault for picking that weapon. You know what I mean? Whereas on this, if I'm running around with an SMG trying to get into the nitty gritty and people are sniping me, it's kind of like, what the hell? Like, why is that? That shouldn't be going on. So I think that kind of adds to it. Again, it's not really a complaint. It's more just like, I guess it doesn't feel like it should play that way, but that's not for me to determine. That's just how players are going to play. And that's, not really a complaint for me. It's just something I've noticed.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about vehicles on this map?
Well, weirdly, so when I was playing yesterday, so they've got the, like, I think it's called rehavened infantry, which is just haven and redacted with no vehicles. So I was playing yesterday and there was obviously no vehicles, so it's hard to tell based off that. But the other day when I was playing and it was just the, like, haven 24/7.
Yeah.
I didn't see a single ground vehicle. I saw choppers, but I didn't see a single
choppers are
tank or anything. So I don't know if it was just like I was just getting lucky and they were all getting blown up or what. I have no idea, but I haven't had a bad experience with them yet. And even the choppers, I noticed that you said that last week and I was on the lookout straight away. I was like, I need to hide from the freaking choppers. But even they weren't really causing me an issue. And I think I said that last week, how like there's a lot of Aussie creators who are really
the chopper
good.
boys.
Yeah, and so like usually even on a map that's not good for choppers, I'm getting dominated by choppers because there's a lot of just really good Aussie players who will use the Nightbird and just dominate in lobbies. But I haven't really had a bad issue with it yet. So I don't want to say it's not bad because I know that I'll have one of them games where it's like, oh geez, this is not fun. But I'm sort of yet to have that, so I can't really like judge it just yet. What about you?
It's like I would say the choppers are definitely the main thing that I have the most experience with, of just trying to like run from building to building, trying to not get hit by the choppers. The first and the second game that I played, obviously this is like when it launched, there were definitely more tanks around. But the last couple ones that I did, it was like maybe one tank that I hit and then the rest was choppers. So jury's still a little bit out. I do think that this is much more of an infantry map than it is a vehicle map, whether or not like they're utilized. I think this is definitely the infantry map in my opinion.
Yeah.
Or should be.
Yeah, I agree with that. I want maps like that where kind of similar to what I just said about the snipers, where like sometimes it's good to just have a map that is kind of built for snipers or whatever, because I think every map should incorporate all play styles, but it's not an issue having one play style that can be dominant on a map because it just changes up the gameplay a little bit. And I kind of want that for vehicles, where it's like I want a map where you can use a vehicle if you want, but you're probably going to get blown up. There's no issue with that. I don't know why they seem to be like against that for some reason, even though they do it for every other freaking like class in the game and stuff. Like there are maps where you cannot snipe. For example, Redacted, like you can't really snipe on that. So they've gone like kind of against snipers in that sense, which is fine, but they haven't really gone against vehicles ever in this game. So
they're the protected children.
which is so weird to me because they're the least in need of protection because it's a freaking vehicle versus infantry. Like they are protected because they're full of armor. Like that is the point of a vehicle, so they shouldn't need protection. That's just I've never understood it, but like I said, I haven't noticed it too much, but I also haven't had the best sample yet because I just haven't played enough on the vehicle version of the map. I think I only got one session in on the regular 24/7, and again, I genuinely don't think, I'd have to go back and watch the gameplay, I don't think I saw a ground vehicle once. I definitely saw choppers, but I cannot remember actually seeing a tank on the map whatsoever.
Yeah. No, I thinking back on it, I haven't really seen the more recent ones. They haven't been as a focus for me, but also the most recent matches that I played, I got like destroyed. Like I don't know what it was, but I was having an off day because I was just going going from building to building, and like every single time, like I felt like, okay, it's clear, I'm gonna go. Bam, headshot. Bam. Oh no, not again. Ah, quit it, please.
Yeah, it is like that sometimes.
Yeah, so we'll see what it looks like as we go forward. I haven't played any of like the infantry based stuff, but I need to hop in and try to do that. But overall, I think it's a good map. We'll see what it looks like as we continue to play it and as we get more time in. It's, again, like I said, it's that really good mix of just like destruction and then like, let me back in, coach. I can play.
Yeah. That's a good point that we need. Like, it's fun for me now. I want to see what it's like in 2 months, because there's been a lot of other maps that I thought were fine and then I've not enjoyed them as much after. For example, Redacted is probably one of them. I don't dislike it, but I really liked it when it launched, and now I'm kind of like, when it pops up, I'm like, nah, I don't really want to play that. Mm-hmm. But then there's maps like Spearhead that it's been, like a year and a half or something since that came out, and if that pops up, I'm playing it straight away. So
you're just as beautiful as the day I met you. Yeah, no, I wonder, like you said, I wonder how like resilient this map is going to be. I think there's opportunity for it, but again, like I think they need to grab the corner and shrink the roads again. That's just something that I think they should do in just all of 2042's maps.
Yeah.
Just because I think it would make that map so much better to have a little bit more of that like smaller scale, more tight knit spacing.
Yeah, there's definitely like lots of areas where there'll be like 4 buildings that are all right next to each other, and it's really good there, but they're not like on the main street, I guess. They're not in the main areas of the map, and I think that's where it's the issue. There's kind of that like main road that like almost zigzags through the map, and when you're on that main road, it's like it's actually still pretty open. Like there is a lot of areas where it's not as tight, and there's still a lot of cover and stuff, but it's I just want a map where like, you know, the center, like the C flag is just like between 4 buildings that are right next to each other or something.
Yes.
It's just chaos. Like I feel like
and you have to jump in between the buildings to see where that one person that's like contesting you is. Yeah. Like that's the kind of map that I want in Battlefield.
Yeah, because how it is now on most flags, that's not a thing. Like I actually really like that. It's like a scary moment of like someone's stealing the flag that you've got, and it's just one person, for example, and you go into a building that's within that area and they're not in there, and you're like, okay, where are they? So then you've got to go to the next building, and it's like you're hunting them down. When it's a lot of the maps in 2042, that doesn't happen because it's kind of out in the open. So it's almost like if
there's
you're
one
on the
building
flag,
that you can actually get inside of, and then that building is in the middle of nothing.
Yeah. So it's like, if someone's capturing a flag, if you just go to the flag and like try to defend it, you can pretty much see each other straight away, unless they're like proned in a corner behind some cover or whatever. But that's different. If someone's running around on the objective, you can see them pretty much all the time. So that's my only complaint with this map in terms of the layout. Is it's got areas that are really fun like that, but they're just not on objectives, and I definitely wish it was all a bit more sort of enclosed. They almost didn't full send it. This map should be a full-on like SMG shotgun map, and it's not quite. And that's not an actual negative. It's more just my own negative that like I just want that map that I'm running around with a SMG.
Well, it's not in Battlefield 2042. Like it's not really an option for you to have. Like they have every single opportunity they've had to make an urban map, they have failed in the fact that it's not an urban map. Like even Haven is a suburban map, I would say. Like it's not urban, because urban is like smaller streets, it's more close-knit, it has more opportunities for like enclosed encounters and back and forths in terms of objectives, but that's not what 2042 offers, and I think that's where the gap is for this game. Yeah,
100% agree with that. I still have that urge for like a proper city map that's not, this is like a little village, this is not a proper city, and that's not really a negative, it's more just that's the type of map I want. That's just like put me in like Siege of Shanghai type of thing. I want to be in that type of city that's like skyscrapers and stuff, but not Hourglass, where it's just like not well designed. Because that on paper you could just say that Hourglass is like that, but it just doesn't play well, and it's not. It's not close quarters at all. Ironically, that is actually one of the least close quarters maps in the whole game, because it's like just I don't know. It's just so open. There's no like actual close quarters combat unless you're like in getting in the elevator for one of those buildings. That's like the only time I've ever had like close range gunfights on that map. So yeah,
and like we've got examples in like Battlefield 5, the last game that they did. Rotterdam is like what I really want them to do. It offers the scale that they really want for Battlefield 2042. It has the spacing between buildings, but it also has more areas where you have that like city street aspect. You have the train cars. If you look at Devastation, like it offers even more space. Like you could do something like that where you use the storytelling that is integral to 2042 just to being like, this is the world after there's been a surge of people that do not have places to stay, and it's like people versus the various governments, and then the governments versus each other. Like that's broad strokes what this game is about. It's perfect opportunity for them to showcase like an effect on a known city. And it's like, nah, fam, that's not fun.
Yeah, I've actually seen, I was doing a Reddit reaction yesterday, and I've seen a lot of people saying they really want the London map from the Exodus short film.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's
dude,
what
that would
want.
be so good.
Like close
to the water canals?
Yeah, genuinely in London, but it's like, you're like the whole ground is kind of like, say, a few inches of water, and it's like it's dark and like, that is exactly the type of stuff I want. And unfortunately it just doesn't look like we'll get that, but yeah, man can hope. I think I'll always be hoping.
Yeah, that is like my dream map, honestly, for 2042, because it speaks to just what I was talking about. Like the effect that this war and the state of the world has on a known area. In this case, it is the economic the economic part, as well as like the biological part in terms of like the ecosystem of London changing, almost going back to like the marsh that like the UK was primarily before it became forested. Like there's this whole story there, but they're just like, nah, we're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
They had the opportunity to recreate the place that they are working from, and they're like, nah, fam, we're gonna go in this random field in Sweden,
and that's
which is great.
As much as we love Spearhead, we're like the biggest Spearhead simps I've ever met, to be honest. But, like I still to this day am like, why would you not do Stockholm? Like that would have been so sick, and even. Oh,
they would put all of the love into that, like put tons of Easter eggs. Like that would be, it'd be so awesome to have like the whole area outside of the EA Stockholm.
Yeah,
like,
they should have had like this. The Stockholm office should have been the central point of the map, and we don't need to know that. It doesn't need to have a big dice thing on it and stuff. It doesn't have to be that like fan service.
It just needs to be that building. Yeah, it doesn't need to any of the signs.
Yeah, and just have it like the surrounding areas. Because from what I obviously haven't been there, but from what I've seen of it, it's a very it is like in the center of the city that there's a lot of other buildings around it and stuff. So they should have done that, man. I'm still annoyed when they teased it. Good.
Yeah,
I was like, oh my god, they're gonna do it, and because they were on a good roll there with like, what was that season? What season was that? That would have been.
Was it?
Oh, it was season 3. So they'd done season 1 and 2 that had both. The maps were both really good, and we were like, all right, they're kind of cooking now. And then they teased it, and I was like, oh my god, they're gonna do it. And then and don't get me wrong, Spearhead's great, and I don't want them to take Spearhead away, but I would honestly gladly trade Spearhead in for that map, even if it wasn't as good as Spearhead. I think that would just be such an awesome, like that would be such a cool Battlefield Easter egg to have, to just be able to in 10 years be like, oh, remember that map where they built their own office in a map and it didn't, like, I'm sure other games have probably done stuff like that, but it would be, I don't know, like more like little goofy games and stuff. A Battlefield game where it's like mass destruction and stuff. Oh, it would have been absolutely awesome.
It's like, what is the Assassin's Creed that's like got the, what is it, Notre Dame building? Which one is that?
I want to say, there's a few in the middle that I didn't play. I want to say that's Unity or Syndicate. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I think it's Syndicate.
Yeah.
No, Unity.
Oh, it's Unity. Okay.
Yeah, Unity. Like that's awesome. That is why I bought that game, is so I could go and look at like, because it's one of the most detailed like digital recreations of that building.
Yeah.
And I think they helped with some of like the recreations of it too. Obviously they had to make a little bit of like copyright changes, but it's one of like the most accurate digital versions of Notre Dame.
Yeah. They've also done like the same thing with the Vatican and stuff in the Ezio trilogy. Like it was also accurate. And like, yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit of a like, I'm not huge on history. Like I don't know a billion things about history, but I do love when there's little bits of history like that in games. And so I think that's probably why I wanted Stockholm so much. Not that that's like a historical building, but like that's just such a cool touch that they could have done. I think I'll always be mad about that, to be honest.
You had the opportunity of a lifetime and you didn't take it.
Yeah.
You had your one shot like Hamilton moment, like not gonna miss this opportunity, but they did. Unfortunately. No, I think there's a lot of opportunities for this stuff. I'm going to be very interested to see like what the community reaction is once we get that second map. I'm going to call it a map rework because like that's legit what it is.
Yeah. I'm not.
It's not a new map.
I refuse to say that. It's as much of a rework as the other ones. You can't tell me it's not. Just
literally.
because it's in its own. Now it's called Stadium instead of Hourglass. It doesn't make it a new map. I'm actually. We probably should just not talk about it because it genuinely annoys me. It's so annoying. I saw a thing on Reddit yesterday that people were like, we all complained that they took that away and now they're giving it back and we're complaining again. That is not at all what we're doing. We're all happy it's coming back. We're annoyed that they called it a new map. That's not what we ever complained about.
Yeah, it's the fact that they're like, you're getting 2 maps this season. And it's like, no, we're getting 1 new map and we're getting a map rework.
Yeah.
That's legit what it is.
Yeah.
It's what that map rework should have been originally.
It's almost, like they reworked Hourglass and then they gave us the bad version of, like they reworked it twice to see which one was better. And then they were like, we may as well give them the shit one first and just let them play that for a few months and then we'll drop the good one. Like that is literally what they're doing. No one cares about the rest of Hourglass. It's a cool concept of a map. I love the city eaten by sand and stuff. It's cool, but it's not a good map. Whereas the stadium was always, even the stadium, I don't think is like, it's still a 7 out of 10 compared to other games, like we were saying. But it was the best part. It was probably one of the best parts.
It's still a 7 out of 10 instead of a
maps.
4 out of 10, like the Mace one is, like the main one is.
Yeah, I would say it was if not the best, it was one of the best parts of any base map in the game, even though the actual map itself was
even though
atrocious.
It did nothing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You barely even would go to it because it's like, I want to go play there, but it means I've got to walk freaking 100 kilometers or like respawn and spawn on someone over there, and then we capture it, and I've got to go back somewhere else because no one's going to come over here and contest it. So, yeah, it annoys me when people say that type of thing where it's like, oh, everyone's just complaining for the sake of it and like you can't please you people and stuff. It's like, no, I'm happy it's back. It's not that they're bringing it back that I'm complaining. It's that they've gassed it up for months saying we're getting 2 new maps this season. In the trailer, it didn't say 2 maps. It said 2 new maps. It said the word new. Stadium is not new. It is not a new map. That is why people are annoyed because we've waited. By the time we get this, by the way, because it's in the 7.2 update. By the time we get that, it will have been 7 months, entering the 8th month actually, since we got
depressing.
Redacted. So we got the smallest map in the game, which don't get me wrong, I don't mind Redacted. I think it was a good map, but they gave us the smallest map in the game. Then they gave us a 5-month wait because they said they're going to do 2 maps. And so I was still annoyed. I still think that's bad, but I was like, whatever, we're going to get 2 maps, so maybe it'll be fine. We waited 5 months. We got Haven, which is a good map, but then we have to wait another 2 months to get a remake. Or it's not even a remake. It's just an area of one of the old maps. So, yeah. I'll just stop there because I could just genuinely go on forever, but it really just annoys me that... At face value, that does sound like what people are... It does sound like we're complaining that they're bringing back a map that we asked for, but that's not what we're actually complaining about. We're complaining that there was already a lack of content, and now they've actually made that lack of content even more somehow. And they also had the audacity to call this season Turning Point. You turned him in the wrong direction, my guy. That is not a good name.
Incredible. A little too on the nose there, guys.
Turning Point, because most people are turning away from the game now, probably. Oh, goodness. They just frustrate me, man. I do love DICE. They've produced some of my favorite games of all time, but my goodness, they annoy me sometimes.
Yeah, read the room, guys.
Yeah.
Read the room. I know you guys are in Sweden and you're like 8 hours ahead of everyone else. And, like, come on, guys. Come on. But thank you all for listening to this episode of Trigger Talk. Let us know your thoughts on Season 7 and the new map. Would love to hear your discussion pieces. I've been really enjoying reading the comments on the last few discussions around the visual recoil. There's some interesting stuff going on there. But let us know your thoughts there. If you want to check out Sammy Boy's YouTube channels, go check him out. Sammy Boy Star Wars, Sammy Boy, and Sammy Boy Gaming, as well as his Clips channel for all manner of videos around video games. And if you're into Star Wars, we have a Star Wars YouTube channel and a podcast called Star Wars Up, you should check out. As always, thank you for listening. We'll see you later, video gamers.